Hello, hello, welcome to the show. Sorry, I was just making sure that my streams were running. I'm still trying to make sure about that. Encoding overloaded. OBS is not giving me good signs. Alright, so I'm live on YouTube. Let's see here on Rumble. Sorry, I'm trying to... Fuck. There we go. Right, I muted the sounds. Alright, let's start here. There we go. And the live chat is right over here. Sorry, I can't avoid the scuff. It's gotta happen. But yes, hello, I am Jacob Davidson and I live in North Texas. I still don't know if I want to go and say, and I'm the legal layman or whatever. Because it seems kind of gay. Let me get those links and post them in the locals chat. Because you know what? It's good to advertise. Also, Mr. Poopy Butthole, I swear to God. Mantana, seriously, do better. Fuck you. All right. Look, Mr. Poopy Butthole, I went for the low-hanging fruit on that one, on the Montana thing. So, you know, forgive. Alright, so what I got for us today. Montana Legislator Zooey Zephyr. Sorry, I got planes. It's closer to summer now, so the planes are going to be a lot more active during the day. Zooey Zephyr sues Republicans over terrifying vote to expel her from State House. That's one of the topics. It's going to be a fun topic because, of course, it's going to be. SCOTUS to undo Chevron. That is a very curious thing. It will do... I can only imagine that will undo a plethora of legislation and executive decisions over the past few years. When was Chevron even decided? Couple decades, maybe. Florida with DeSantis signing a bill I actually agree with. Outside of the whole, like, lowering the death sentence standards, I think I can get behind. Maybe. We'll see. I think I can get behind child predation child predators being put to death. Child predators and child rapists being put to death. You know, I'm not so opposed to that on a principle. But of course, you know, it's always the ability to trust the state with that capacity to not fuck it up. And late night shows, I think that's gonna be fun. I don't want to spoil it. Just comedy shows, comedy not included. So I think I'll leave that there. And we'll get to it whenever we get to it. Southern. Yes, but high bar. The government must prove their case, and I have doubt about court integrity. So someone mentioned that, what's it? The death sentence cases are typically after someone's been convicted. So it's a separate trial after the former trial. And even then, I have great problems with that, because even if they're convicted, I don't trust the state to have properly convicted a person on what they say they have. A majority of the times. And I doubly don't trust the state to have proven why a person should be put to death. So yeah, a great distrust for the government in this case. Also, I'm curious, if you watch the videos on these things, is the background light, this like overhead light thing, good for my lighting? So yeah. After that, I got a couple more topics that might be interesting, and I definitely plan on going through them. And so I will. And I guess I should probably start off the show. Oh, but before that, I want to show something off. I'm going to start making videos. The lighting isn't bad, best I can. Is it good or bad? Sorry, best I can do is it's alright. Love that. So I'm gonna start doing recorded videos, or maybe I might live stream the doing it and then cut it down. But I got this little book right here. It's a hefty book. Well, it's thick for this. And I got a similarly Federalist paper book, but it's like study guided book with like written notes inside of it. The original 85 documents, articles, and essays that formed our nation, an authoritative assessment of the United States Constitution, and enduring classic political philosophy. The Federalist Papers were written by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay. Explain the difficulties of a constitutional government, including its organizational principles and ability to adhere to the basic human rights. These letters first appeared in 1787 in the New York newspaper urging voters to accept the proposed Constitution. America's founding fathers' defenses of the Constitution are still relevant today. Today, the Federalist Papers are an important and vital asset for freedom. The book is regarded as a classic of American political theory and a turning point in political science. Very, very cool. I was gonna try and read the original or the saved National Archive version of it, but I realized that that might be a little too messy because it's like basically a photo print of the text of the documents, and it's not like cleaned up in any way. My browser, I think, just crashed. Well, it didn't crash, but it's frozen. There we go. And I'll come back to this. Alright. With all that, we'll definitely be reading the Federalist Papers. It's got a page of contents and everything. It's 424 pages. The first letter is only 2 pages? I gotta stop myself from wanting to read it right now because I really want to start doing that. Alexander Hamilton. Alright, so let's get on to it. The first article that I'm going to read is going to be in order, and I have one that's not listed in the title. However, I'm going to read it after the Zooey Zephyr article because it kind of fits. Montana transgender lawmaker Zooey Zephyr sues Republicans over terrifying vote to expel him from State House. Also, is that supposed to be Zooey? This can't be Zoe. Lawmaker was removed for sharp criticisms over bill banning gender-affirming medical care for youth. Zooey Zephyr, transgender lawmaker who was barred from the State House representative for criticizing a slate of anti-trans bills, has filed a lawsuit against the body's top Republican officials. The suit, brought alongside the ACLU of Montana, alleges that the Montana House leadership violated Mr. Zephyr's First Amendment rights. This effort by House leadership to silence me and my constituents is a disturbing and terrifying affront to democracy itself. Well, I'm sorry, Zephyr, but we're not in a democracy. We're in a republic. And they have rules for the Senate and House. The first Representative Zephyr, the first transgender representative elected to the legislature in Montana history, said in a statement, "House leadership explicitly and directly targeted me in my district because I dared to give voice to the values and needs of transgender people like myself," he added. "By doing so, they have denied me my own rights under the Constitution, and more importantly, the rights of my constituents to just representation in their own government. The Montana State House is the people's house, not the Speaker's regiers, and I'm determined to defend the right of the people to have their voices heard. It also seeks the Missoula Democrats' reinstatement to the legislature. On Wednesday, the House representatives voted on party lines to bar Representative Zephyr from participating in legislative debates. From the State House floor for the rest of the session, and leadership subsequently reclassified various bills to the Democrat would have voted on in committee, effectively preventing Representative Zephyr from any House business besides voting remotely. The Montana legislative session, which happens every other year, ends on the 6th of May. Man, these legislative sessions do not last very long. It seems like they've only gone on for like a few months and then that's it. The Montana House voted was the Montana House vote was the culmination of back and forth which began earlier this month when Representative Zephyr told colleagues they would have blood on their hands if they backed a proposed ban on gender-affirming health care for youth, which later passed. The lawsuit alleges this description of the bill is truthful. The representative, or rather, Representative Zephyr's comments represent the factual reality of gender-affirming care. The legal action reads, gender-affirming care, or their medical care, can be life-saving treatment for transgender individuals, including minors experiencing gender dysphoria. Advocates have said the ban goes against the medical best practices and would harm LGBT or what the fuck? Oh, what? Why? That threw me off. Why? Is it spelled this way in this article? LGTB? Would harm LGTB plus kids. Was that a mistype? By preventing them from getting what the Human Rights Campaign called life-saving healthcare. This group totally can't be an advocate for transgender procedures. Republicans in the House balked at the criticism and demanded an apology while declining to recognize Representative Zephyr when he attempted to speak during legislative debate. Things escalated further last Monday when scores of protesters rallied at the state capitol in support of the Democrat, filling the House observation gallery and chanting, "Let her speak." Riot police arrested 7 people, and Republicans accused Representative Zephyr of fomenting a January 6th-like riot, even though the demonstrations were peaceful. Wow, almost like January 6th. The suit specifically names Montana Speaker of the House Matt Regier and the House Sergeant at Arms Bradley Murfitt, whom the Independent has contacted for comment. It accuses the officials of causing Representative Zephyr irreparable harm under the state and U.S. Constitution by freezing him out of the legislative process, leaving the voice of his 11,000 constituents. His 11,000 constituents have been collectively silenced. So, yeah. Zephyr causing January 6th for Montana. That's great. I don't really have much to say outside of I guess the rules of the legislation. I guess I could look up Montana Constitution. That's what I could do. I could look up Montana Constitution, trace it back to what the state or the House is allowed to do as punishment for fellow House members. And, you know, if that violates the rights of the people, because, you know, I'm willing to bet if the Supreme Court had a problem with the legislature expelling one of their own, the Supreme Court would have had a statement on it at some point. Yeah. So power and structure. Am I even on the Montana? Qualifications, sessions. The legislature shall. Acquittals should only require 10 jurors. I think I can agree with that. Maybe. Legislature shall meet each odd number year in regular session of not more than 90 legislative days. Any legislature may increase the limit of the length of any subsequent session. The legislature may be convened in special sessions by the governor or at the written request of majority of the members. No member of the legislature shall, during the term of which he shall have been elected, be appointed to any civil office under the state, and no member of Congress or other persons holding an office except notary public or the militia under the United States or the state shall be a member of the legislature during his continuance in office. Hold on. Montana. That is a sparse bill. Alright, the Constitution of Montana. That is where Zooey is, right? Zooey. Section. Compact Declaration of Rights. Right of self-government. Popular sovereignty. All political powers vested and derived from the people. All government of rights originate the people. Is founded. The right of any person to keep or bear arms in defense of home, person, property, or in aid of civil power when thereto legally summoned shall not be called into question, but nothing herein contained shall be held to permit the carrying or of concealed carry. Why do they make so many of these distinctions? Who cares if it's concealed or open carried? General government, suffrage, and elections. The legislature. The legislative power is vested. Disqualification. No member. Organization and procedure. Each house shall judge the election and qualifications of its members. It may by law vest in the courts the power to try and determine contested elections. Expel? Each house may expel or punish a member for a good cause shown with concurrence of 2/3 of all of its members. A majority, each house shall choose, keep a journal, and make rules for its proceedings. A majority of each house constitutes a quorum. A small number may adjourn from day to day and compel attendance of absent members. So it's not unlawful what they did. It's within the state's own constitution. What is for a good cause? What is the definition? Hold on, I'm gonna try something out real quick. Pardon me for a moment. Scene. Cancel. Duplicate. Scene 2. Scene. Resize. There we go. Yeah, I want it under. Alright, give me just a moment. I'm going to try something out and it might go awful. So, you know, all good stuff. Fuck. Why is it lagging? It lags now. Banner. Gonna go back to that Montana or this one real quick. Alright, so let's see here. Alright, give this a shot. Let's see how you guys like it. Ah, damn it. Rename. Resize. There we go. Alright, so I present to you a mild update to the look, done live on stream. Zoom this in. Alright. Is this any better? You probably can't notice it because it didn't really change much. It just took out the sidebars and the address and tabs. I'll probably do this more often. I think I'll keep to this one because it helps with, you know. Alright, sorry about that. Just a mild distraction on my part. So back to the next article. Sorry about that. Related to that Zephyr news, I have really lost hope in this area. Transgender woman considers leaving Tennessee because of anti-LGBTQ laws. Jamie Combs, well, transgender woman, so Jamie Combs said he doesn't feel safe in his home state after a recent wave of anti-LGBTQ legislation. Holy fuck. God damn it, the internet issues here. Jamie Combs is no stranger to the fight for equality. The Blount County wife and mother is transgender. Oh. There was a time when people felt more free to simply live their lives, he said. They felt like they could just exist and not worry about these issues. He felt hopeful in 2015 when Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage in the landmark Obergefell v. Hodges decision. There was a sense of hope in the community that we'd been given more rights, he said. Now more legislation is being presented that targets this community and brings harm to this community. Republican legislatures said the law they're introducing are aimed to protect children. That includes effectively banning public drag shows and restricting the people who can participate in school sports, as well as banning some gender-affirming care for transgender minors. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee said he supports many of these measures. An analysis by the Washington Post found Tennessee has enacted at least 13 laws restricting LGBTQ rights since 2015, more than any other state. Currently, there are zero protections for gender in the state of Tennessee, he said. We may disagree on an issue, but that doesn't mean that we have to target that person or that community. He said he's considered leaving his home state of Tennessee because of the negative shift in tone towards the transgender community. This is my home. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and this is where my family is, he said. But at some point, safety doesn't become a factor. He said the wave of legislation has placed an unwanted spotlight on the transgender community. It fosters a sense of fear, and it gives the impression that transgender people are less than, that they are not worthy, what they do not deserve the same dignity, that they do not deserve the same dignity and respect that other people get. He said transgenderism is not a mental illness. He wants his legislature to understand his community is worthy too. For young people, the stigma that comes from the legislation makes it almost unbearable for them, he said. We have a right to ensure that all people are treated treated with dignity and respect and equality. I don't know. Washington bans conversion therapy, but every other state that has a protection on these policies of gender affirming care are basically just conversion therapy. Sorry, I got distracted. Do you see this ad right here? Baldo. Oh fuck, come on, damn it. I was gonna screenshot that and send it to chat with Nick and whatnot. Alright, so that's, I believe, the transgender issues tackled for the stream today. Supreme Court to consider overruling Chevron doctrine. I am excited about this. The Supreme Court on Monday announced it will hear a case that could significantly scale back federal agencies' authority, with major implications for the future of environmental and other regulations. The justice's next term will consider whether to overturn decades-old precedent that grants agency deference when Congress left ambiguity in a statute. Names for the court decision in Chevron United States versus Natural Resources Defense Council, the Chevron Deference has become one of the most frequently cited precedents in administrative law since the decision was first handed down in 1984. So that's when it all went to shit. Well, it went to shit before, but that's another step in the direction. It invokes a two-step test. First, judges decide if Congress has in the statute directly spoken to the precise question at issue. If it is ambiguous, courts defer to agencies as long as their actions are based on permissible construction. Some of the High Court's conservatives have raised concerns about the precedent and how it has expanded the reach of agencies' authorities. Now, the justices will take up a case that explicitly asks them to overturn it. The High Court announced the move on Monday in a brief, unsigned order, as is typical, indicating at least four justices agreed to take up the case. Herring fishing company Loper Bright Enterprises is appealing a ruling that left in place a National Marine Fisheries Services regulation based on the doctrine. The regulations requires herring fishing boats to allow a federal observer aboard to oversee operations and compensate them for their time. The company argues the regulation significantly decreases their profit margin and the agency had no authorization to impose it. Wait a minute. So, this regulation basically forces a fishing company to allow a federal agent on their boat and then pay them for having allowed them on the boat? Fuck that. No, fuck that. But the U.S. Courts of Appeal in the D.C. District ruled in favor of the federal government, deferring to NMFS after finding that the law at issue was ambiguous. strike for vagueness in a lot of these things. Nearly 4 decades of judicial experience with Chevron have demonstrated the courts are incapable of applying its two-step Chevron framework in a consistent manner, attorneys for Loper Bright Enterprises wrote in the court filings. Fuck that. Man, I hope they win the fishing company. Fuck the government on that one. Yeah, you're required to allow our people on board, and when you do, you gotta pay them. Pay them for their time on the boat rather than, you know. Yeah, fuck them. Back the way they came. God, I hate that. My hate for the government grows every day. So yesterday I covered DeSantis's possibly asinine, no, very asinine ruling that 8 out of 4 people are required, are the only group that are required to, or 8 out of 4 jurors is all that you need to reach a death sentence for capital punishment cases. I hated that with a vivid passion, but this I think I can agree with. You got a license for that? Yeah, I got a license right here. Now get the fuck off my boat. DeSantis signs new death penalty bill vowing Supreme Court showdown. I want to see this. Ugh. Governor Ron DeSantis, as if he needed this. I guess it's needed. I wouldn't know if someone's a Republican or Democrat unless it told me, outside of the, you know, majority of governors and people that I know. Signed a bill Monday allowing Florida to impose death penalty on those convicted of sexual battery against children younger than 12. Why it matters. The legislation is in direct violation of the U.S. Supreme Court decision in Kennedy versus Louisiana, which found it unconstitutional for states to use capital punishment for a crime other than murder. The death penalty should not be expanded to instances where the victim's life was not taken, the ruling said. The governor's office said DeSantis is prepared to take this law all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court to overrule existing precedent. DeSantis signed a bill last month that lowers the threshold for imposing a death sentence, allowing juries to recommend execution without a unanimous vote. This is the part I have a problem with. If you can be... We've seen it in Me Too. We've also seen that kids are not the most reliable witnesses in many cases, except for very few, and only to help add to a story, maybe. I don't trust the government to not be proper in convicting someone who is accused, who has a mere allegation of sexual assault to a kid who may not have done the sexual assault. So a person can be falsely convicted on it, and then with this lower death sentence standard, they can be put to death basically pretty easily. This, in conjunction with that, I have a major problem. Me Too died last year. It still happens on small scale for some people. People that are not Johnny Depp and people that are not Vic Mignogna will still have these things. And some of them will see fruition that lead to a court case, like a criminal court trial. I do not trust it. This sounds like a recipe just to kill people that are alleged. Florida has had more exonerations from death row than any other state, according to the Death Penalty Information Center, a nonprofit research organization in Washington, D.C. The legislation, which goes into effect in October, requires a minimum sentence of life in prison without parole for cases of sexual battery against young children. The state will require prosecutors seek the death penalty in these cases to identify at least 2 aggravating factors, including whether the defendant has a history of sexual predation or holds a custodial position over the child. This is a very important aggravating factor. You said that last time, and I know it still has to be unanimous. I still don't trust the conviction rate or the propriety of the conviction in Florida, or anywhere for that matter. Wait, hold on. So, you're saying that I'll probably need to read through it again, just to be sure. So this is the standard. So this is what is changed. So the guilt still has to be unanimous, of course. That's the only way you can get to the death trial. Or the death sentence. So aggravating factors in the trial have to be unanimous as well? I thought it was an 8-4. I'll go back to that bill after I read this article. So give me a moment to finish the article and then I'll go look through it. Cases could be resentenced if the law is later deemed unconstitutional. The bill received bipartisan support in the legislature, where the Republicans hold supermajorities in both chambers. State Senate Minority Leader Lauren Book, a Democrat for Broward, co-sponsored it. Ooh. We think that in the worst of the worst cases, the only appropriate punishment is the ultimate punishment, and so this bill sets up a procedure to be able to challenge the precedent. DeSantis said at news conference in Tudesville, in Florida, we stand for the protection of children, he added. So in a death sentence trial, 8-4, the 8-4 vote is for life in prison without parole, and if they want to push it to death sentence, it has to be 12-0. Editor note: the article has been updated for further with the comment from the Florida Governor's Office and more context. Unanimous. The jury shall return a finding if at least 8 jurors recommended a sentence of death, specifying the court may impose a sentence of death. The jury shall return findings identifying each aggravating factor found to exist. A finding that an aggravating factor exists must be unanimous. So unanimous. The jury shall return. Okay, rather, I should start from the start. Findings and recommended sentences by the jury. This section applies only if the defendant has not waived his or her right to a sentencing proceeding by a jury. After hearing all of the evidence presented regarding aggravating factors or mitigating circumstances, the jury shall deliberate and determine if the state... hold on. That doesn't make any sense, though. Death sentence is 8-4, but not considered unless the aggravating factors are 12-0. The jury shall deliberate and determine if the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of at least one aggravating factor set forth in Section 6, or Subsection 6. The jury shall return findings in identifying each aggravating factor found to exist. A finding that an aggravating factor exists must be unanimous. If the jury does not unanimously find at least one factor, the defendant is ineligible for a sentence of death. Unanimously finds at least one aggravating factor, the defendant is eligible for a sentence of death, and the jury shall make a recommendation to the court as to whether the defendant shall be sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole or to death. The recommendation shall be based on the weighing of all the following: whether sufficient aggravating factors exist, whether aggravating factors exist which outweigh the mitigating circumstances found to exist, based on consideration in subparagraphs A and B, whether the defendant should be sentenced to life in prison without parole or to death. If at least 8 jurors determine that the defendant should be sentenced to death, the jury's recommendation to the court must be a sentence of death. If fewer than 8 jurors determine that the defendant should be sentenced to death, the jury's recommendation to the court shall be a sentence of life, must be life imprisonment without possibility of parole. Impositions of sentence of life imprisonment or death. I should probably say I didn't go too deep into this one yesterday because I was trying to cover all the articles. And I started out pretty late, so this is a proper read this time. I'm sorry about yesterday. If the jury has recommended a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, the court shall impose a recommended sentence of life. Death, and at least 8 jurors recommend a sentence of death. The court, after considering each aggravating factor found by the jury and all the mitigating circumstances, may impose a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or a sentence of death. The court may consider only the aggravating factors that was unanimously found to exist by the jury. The court may impose a sentence of death only if the jury unanimously finds at least one aggravating factor beyond a reasonable doubt. If the defendant waived his or her right to the sentencing proceedings by jury, wait, how does that make sense? So a jury can 8-4 vote for death, and then right after that, do they proceed to go into considering aggravating and mitigating factors? Order the court in support of sentence of life imprisonment or death. So they add life. In each case in which the court imposes a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or death, the court shall consider the... Oh, wait. So if at least one factor of... If one aggravating factor is found, unanimously found, by the jury, a death sentence by 8 members is allowed. Pardon me for a moment. I gotta do something. Sorry, I needed to powder my nose. Graham, are you perhaps Floridian? Hi, Mr. Poopy Butthole. Alright. And that's not to say you can't have an opinion on this because you're not Floridian, but your knowledge of the bill indicates that you have an interest, and I figured the interest was because it's your home. Meow? Nah, y'all. What? I got a viewer on the YouTube side, Mr. Poopy Butthole. My grandma lives there. Oh, okay. So you don't live in Florida, but your grandma does. Why are you gay? Listen, Mr. Poopy Butthole, I make bad puns. Mantana, man, legislature. I know, do better, but fuck you, don't call me out like that. You rat bastard. So life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or death sentence, the court shall consider the records of the trial and sentencing proceedings, enter a written order addressing the aggravating factors set forth in subsection 6 found to exist the mitigating circumstances in subsection 7 reasonably established by the evidence whether there are sufficient aggravating factors to warrant death penalty and whether the aggravating factors outweigh the mitigating circumstances reasonably established by the evidence. The court must include in its written order the reason for not accepting the jury's recommended sentence, if applicable. If the court does not issue its order requiring the death sentence within 30 days after the rendition of the judgment and sentence, the court shall impose a sentence of life in prison. I also read above. Hold on. I heard a plane approaching. I thought it was going to get much louder. I read all the bills. I also read the bobs. I'm sure the bobs will appreciate that. Do you also read the vagines? Do you eat the poo-poo? God damn it. No, Mr. Poopy Butthole. No. Alright. So findings and recommended sentence by the jury. Like, isn't this just basically a portion that we saw before? Sentence of death or life imprisonment for capital drug trafficking felonies. Further proceed to determine sentence. Okay. It's a little more reasonable now, but I still don't know how I feel about it. I think it might still be a bad ordeal. Imposition of life. For capital felonies, further proceedings determined. Okay, so what this bill actually does... I doubt it, JPEG. What do you doubt? Also, it's idoubt.mp4. That's a sound clip, idiot. It's not a JPEG. Well, it is a JPEG. Huh. It's better used as an MP4. Fight me. So... After hearing all the evidence, aggravating factors. Alright. Shut up! Damn it! What's it? Capital drug traffic felonies. What the fuck is this capital drug traffic felony? Florida capital drug traffic felony. Trafficking felony. If the trafficking, you should probably consider it seppuku. I have, but it's not really my interest. You see, I gotta do this whole stream thing, then I gotta go to work. And how will I enjoy, like, you know, a grilled chicken sandwich anymore? I'm losing weight. I'm already committing seppuku. I'm losing body mass by losing body fat. I mean, it's not as easy as like putting a blade into the stomach and then ripping the blade over it. It's not as simple as that, but I'm losing it slowly, so I'm slowly committing seppuku. But imagine the... Yeah, I'd get like 1,000 views for like 2 seconds, have all of my channels shut down, and then die. I wouldn't be able to see any of the profit at any rate. Attorneys for cop killer Markeith Lloyd appeal conviction in Florida Supreme Court. Mr. Poopy Butthole, I will haunt you if I do that. Convicted cop killer Markeith. Fuck. Are you gonna get the goes on me? Get the what? The hearing lasted approximately... So attorney for cop killer Markeith Lloyd asked to appeal conviction in Florida Supreme Court. The hearing lasted approximately 40 minutes. Both the defense and the prosecutor presented their case. Now Lloyd's fate lies in the hands of the Florida Supreme Court. Lloyd is trying to appeal his conviction and death sentence. Oh, Gosney. Maybe. I don't know. I think he might be inundated with requests right now, so I'm not gonna push that further. I think he might have felt guilty that I lost the auction for one of the hardcovers of his book. It's always the Amish. Well, not to spoil anything, but another attorney that we know and love is asking the Floridian lawyer about it as well. So it's not Joe. I know Jewish and Amish are not the same thing, but I know what you mean. I know what you're trying to go for. He was found guilty of the 2017 murder of Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clayton. Lloyd's attorney wants a new trial and have said that he was not competent to be sentenced. He was first convicted of killing his ex-girlfriend Sade Dixon and her unborn child in 2019. Lloyd was sentenced to 5 consecutive life terms in that case and is currently incarcerated at the Union Correctional Institution in Ryford, Florida. I will not say which one we know and love, because I don't think it's been announced. Has anyone announced that they're going to get Gosney on soon to discuss this? Lloyd was sentenced to 5 consecutive, and now that Sade Dixon. Sade. Now the court is adjourned. It's up to the Florida Supreme Court justices to decide if Lloyd deserves a new trial and hearing to decide his sentence. What in the fuck did I click? Poopy butthole, if you're gonna call me a faggot, you could at least send me money while you do it. Like the Marquis de Sade. It's French? You telling me the goddamn French here? Markeith Lloyd. What is he appealing it on anyway? Well, he just wants a new trial? His attorney said he wasn't competent to be sentenced, but I mean, he was competent to stand trial and be convicted. This better not be something fucking weird. Can't rant on mobile. Damn it all! Then go to YouTube and do it. You have it there. Fuck you. I'm really loving the antagonistic nature of this. It's great. Oh my fucking god, these names. Lloyd is a Moorish soft sit. No fucking way. Markeith, a soft citizen? God damn it. He should be put to death just for that. I only know 2 soft sits by name. Objection. It decides to invoke his right to counsel on homicide. God, so fucking weird. Donatien Alphonse Francois Marquis de Sade. I hope I said that right. Darrell Brooks and Chile de Castro. Well, the second one was going to be Markeith Lloyd, but now I guess Chile de Castro is going to be there. Markeith de Sade. Sade. J. Maria de Castro. YouTuber suit dropped by. Well, you know what goes great with fucking stories of fucking death sentences, sex crimes, and murder? That's right. Tea. Tea goes great with all of that. DragonsTreasure.com. Use code Layman at checkout. Get 10% off. You can find these things in the description below. I make it easy. I have the code perpetually at the bottom left of my screen every time I stream now. Code Layman for 10% off. Get tea that is good tea for a haven for anime and tea lovers. It's a haven for anime and tea lovers. Don't you see? It's right here in the text. DragonsTreasure.com, ladies and gentlemen. You get tea stuff like the utility kettle and the Ingenuity strainer. You know, normal product tea like Sebastian's Morning Earl Grey or Butterscotch Holiday Tea, which is a member's tea. You can drink coffee and tea at the same time. You don't need to be exclusive to either one, poopy butthole. Besides, he's also considering doing coffee products. You'll get coffee from Dragon's Treasure sometime soon. Ah! Oh, wow. The British drink tea. You know who also drinks tea? The Tea Man, who's a Texan. Well, he moved to Texan, but he's Texan right now. He drinks tea. I'm Texan. I drink tea. Right here. Too late, I'm a regular coffee, man. God damn it. You could at least buy one and try it out. Use code Layman when you do. Fuck you. Indeed. I Oh, I read something so out of left field. I look over the at the at the locals chat, and Steers queers from Texas, and I don't. Steers and queers comes from Texas, and I don't see any horns on your head. So you fuck you. I'm a man. I'll come after you in real life. Dude, dick. I read it in the locals chat. Basically saying it basically denies the Holocaust, but it should have happened. I fucking died, dude. That's great. That's funny as shit, man. Alright, so I covered the Montana thing. Right. It is time to move on to the next story. The funniest story for today. This gave me a little bit of joy when I started reading it, because it means this guy is off air. I fucking hate Stephen Colbert. He's so uptight and so fucking annoying. Oh, I hate him so much. He's got this platform, this popular platform, where it's like, oh, I could be funny all day and get paid for it. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna talk about Trump every 5 seconds. Fuck Stephen Colbert. Hey, Matt. You want to deny the Holocaust with me? I have so much fun doing this. I love it. I got... Hold on. Like, maybe 7 hours of sleep. Maybe. And I feel so fucking energized right now. For YouTube purposes, that Holocaust denial thing was a complete joke. I believe it happened. It... Don't hurt me, YouTube. I don't want to get hurt. Late night shows to shut down immediately after Writers Guild strike called update. Oh, please don't let the update that they decided that they're gonna keep them on. Nightly talk shows include The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon are set to go dark starting on Tuesday after writers agreed to strike. So I won't see them tonight. Except Gutfeld. Late Night Show with Seth Meyers and The Daily Show, which had correspondent Dolce Sloan host this week, also will be hit. The Late Show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Tonight Show, and the Late Night will officially be in reruns now, waiting on what Comedy Central will do with The Daily Show. Oh, it'll still play, just reruns. Weekly shows as Saturday Night Live, Real Time with Bill Maher last week tonight with Jimmy Oliver will be similarly impacted. The two HBO shows will shut down, although a final decision on SNL is expected to come later in the week. And nothing of value is lost. I agree. SNL has officially canceled this week's show, which was supposed to be hosted by Pete Davidson. Repeats of the late night show will air until further notice. Well, I guess I should go tell my grandparents that they don't need to worry about watching the Stephen Colbert show. Colbert was set to have Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Chita Rivera on Tuesday's show, with Chris Hayes, Zach Cherry, Michael J. Fox, and Shonda Rhimes lined up for later in the week. Fallon was set to have Kim Jeong and Emma Chamberlain on Tuesday, with the likes of Jennifer Lopez, J.J. Watt, Ellie Fanning, Bowen Yang among guests for later in the week. Kimmel was welcoming Dr. Phil, Gina Rodriguez, the Pixies on Tuesday, with Melissa McCarthy, Will Poulter, Ricky Gervais, Anthony Kerrigan, and Smashing Pumpkins set for the later in the week. The show was set to welcome authors Vashti Harris and Jason Reynolds, and former NFL All-Pro Brandon Marshall. Priyanka? Where was that name? Yanka. Priyanka. I misread. Mr. Poopy Butthole, that's when you hit me with the thing you've been calling me all stream. My mispronunciation is an unforgivable sin. The Daily Show was set to welcome authors Vashti Harris and All-Pro Brandon Marshall. Seth Meyers, speaking on Late Night this afternoon, said, I love writing for TV, I love writing the show, I love that we get to come in with an idea for what we want to do every day. Well, I was thinking you were just going to call me a faggot, but sure, an idiot works. What, an idiot? I'm not an asshole. Usually. Very, very nice. Very nice. So what? Faggot's a term of endearment from you? Nice. I feel much loved and appreciated every time I get called that. Thank you very much. And if I'm not supposed to, oh well, whatever. I love what we do every day. We get to work on it all afternoon, and then I have the pleasure of coming out here. No one is entitled to a job in show business, but for those people who have a job, they are entitled to fair compensation. They're entitled to make a living. I think it's very reasonable demand that's being set out by the guild, and I support those demands. I did say that on YouTube, yes. But it wasn't aimed at anybody, therefore it doesn't break any kind of rules. And I wouldn't say it in a way that breaks the rules. Trust me, I'm a good boy, YouTube. Pete Davidson, whose Peacock comedy series Bupkis started this week, was set for his SNL return on May 6th. We hear that there are a number of possibilities for the Lorne Mitchell's created show if there is a strike, that a decision is set to be made closer to showtime. Speaking on The Tonight Show, Davidson joked that he was taking it personally. It sucks because it just feeds my weird story I have in my head, like, of course that would happen to me. By that you mean a cuckold, right? No, fuck that. I'm not that kind of good boy. It's not even a good boy. That's an idiot. A retard, if you will. Two of the nightly hosts, Kimmel and Colbert, went through this situation in 2007 and 8. The latter, as the host of the Colbert Report, Mayer was at Saturday Night Live during the last strike, and Oliver was on The Daily Show. Maher's Real Time was also with its season finale replaced by a rerun. Was also hit with its season. Okay. Why is Governor Newsom getting involved with fucking a guild? A private business? Fuck him. Fuck government. Don't get involved. Let it suffer if it must. One of the issues in this year's negotiation between the Writers Guild and the studios is also, in fact, surrounding late night shows on streaming. As it stands, writers who work on comedy and variety programs made for new media, such as Peacock's The Amber Ruffin Show, do not qualify for NBA minimum, something the WGA has been fighting for. Yes, very true. Because Gavin Newsom is also those things. Importantly, the tyrant, but also, more importantly, the cuckold. The late night showrunners have told Deadline that they will stay in touch with each other as the strike progresses to give a unified approach to the situation, something that didn't happen in 07 and 08. I have been and will continue to talk to the other shows to see what they're up to. One of the showrunners said, "We've got to support the writers. Our writers are amazing. That said, the rest of the staff is amazing, and I don't want to see anybody lose their jobs or lose a paycheck. What's the happy medium here? Figuring that out has not been easy." One SNL star told Deadline, "We have to think about our crew too. I absolutely support the writers, and I want the writers to get what they deserve and need, but I don't want our crew to be out of work. We can't make this art without each other." Wait, so a group of people who decide to sit down and write and do nothing but write basically dictates the fate of not only the show's host or the star of the show, but also basically everyone around them, like camera guy, lighting, set directors. Like dozens of jobs could be put on the line because people who could clack on a keyboard decide that they want something better or new or different. Fuck, dude. I work in a street sweeping job and I have more security than that. I get paid a fair amount. It's easy enough work. I make basically a livable wage, I think. But fuck. Oh no, I don't actually pay for my housing. That's what happens when you have unions and talentless hacks. What a travesty. I could not imagine. Well, it kind of applies to me. My job is stringent upon how other people do their jobs because it depends on whether or not I get extra workload or if I'm put out of a job entirely because my boss could just shut down a business. But fuck, dude. People who sit out of place or think out of place to write for a show to be funny. I don't know. The Writers Guild should probably consider being funnier, I guess. I mean, everybody has the right to... Not has a right. Everybody has the right to work. No, wait. What am I thinking here? Everyone that has an ability to work and does work. Oh, shut up, dude. Everyone that has... God damn it. Mr. Poopy Butthole says, I'll give you an extra load in your mouth. Everybody that has the ability to work and is working has the right to be compensated for the work. But the company that hires them has a right to also negotiate the terms. Guess what I'm saying here is what's happening. My ultimate decision or position on this is find a work that pays you without having to force other people to abide by your desires. If the Writing Guild Association wants something better, they should probably, I don't know, start getting stocks in whoever they're negotiating with. Make it so that, you know, they don't have the ability to have the interest groups of the Writers Guild inside of the company that dictates the wages. It's funny though. Fuck Stephen Colbert. I'm glad he's out of business. Fuck Stephen Colbert. Yeah, let Hollywood die. That's also an option. Dispatches from WGA picket lines. The Tony Kushner Slam studio agreed at. Is this still breaking news? Two hours ago, 56 minutes ago. Rob Lau? What the fuck is he doing there? Go back to your writer's room, Sam. Writers and their allies hit the picket line today is carrying creatively crafted signage and offering up very well thought out opinions about the work stoppage. Protests began in New York City outside the Peacock New Front's presentation and later in Los Angeles outside Netflix and the offices of other prominent entities. Does Netflix have anything to do with this? What the hell am I looking at here? Just headphones or speakers? Whatever. What you doing, Matt? What's up, man? How's everybody doing? Rob Lau fucking striking. What was his character's name? I know it's Sam. West Wing Sam. Sam Seaborn. There we go. In other news, 2 hospitals under federal investigation over care of pregnant woman who has refused abortion. You know, hospitals should have the right to refuse care. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services is investigating 2 hospitals that did not offer necessary stabilizing care to an individual experiencing an emergency medical condition in violation of the Emergency Medical Act and Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. According to a letter from USA Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra, under EMTALA, healthcare professionals are required to offer treatment, including abortion care, that the provider reasonably determines is necessary to stabilize the patient's emergency medical condition. All right, so this is what you do. You come into chat and you be antagonistic for basically the whole show, even on like the slightest mention of a topic. Lovely. I love it. Let's keep going. The patient was nearly 18 weeks pregnant when she had preterm premature rupture of membranes. Becerra wrote, but she was told that her pregnancy wasn't viable. Although her doctors advised her that her condition could rapidly deteriorate, they also advised that they could not provide her with care that would prevent infection, hemorrhaging, and potential death because, they said, the hospital policies prohibit treatment that could be considered an abortion. Oh, fuck off! I know what this is. Two hospitals under investigation. Becerra added Monday, fortunately, this patient survived, but she never should have gone through this terrifying ordeal she experienced in the first place. We want her and every patient out there like her to know that we'll do everything in our power to protect their lives and health and to investigate and enforce the law to the fullest of our legal authorities. This was abortions banned in Missouri with limited exceptions, it says. Missouri abortion law. Revised statutes, right to life and unborn. Meaning that it wasn't that serious. Many operations can be performed in such cases without the goal of the operation being the death of the child. Oh, fuck this. Disable force dark mode. Alright, whatever. I gotta deal with it. The section shall be known and may be cited as the Right to Life of the Unborn Child Act. Notwithstanding any provision of the law to the contrary, no abortion shall be performed or induced upon a woman except in cases of medical emergency. Any person who knowingly performs or induces an abortion of an unborn child in violation of this subsection shall be guilty of a Class B felony, as well as subject to suspension or revocations of his or her professional license by his or her professional licensing board. A woman upon whom an abortion is performed or induced in violation of the subsection shall not be prosecuted for a conspiracy to violate the provisions of the subsection. That is good. I like this. This sounds very reasonable already. It shall be an affirmative defense for any person alleged to have violated the provisions of subsection 2 of this section that the person performed or induced an abortion because of a medical emergency. The defendant shall have the burden of persuasion that the defense is more probable than true. Note 4, the enactment of this section shall only become effective upon notification of the reviser to the reviser's statute by an opinion by the Attorney General of Missouri a proclamation by the governor of Missouri, and the adoption of a concurrent resolution by the Missouri General Assembly that. Oh, so this is basically if the Supreme Court overrules Roe v. Wade, restoring, granting, or to the state of Missouri the authority to regulate abortion. An amendment to the Constitution has been adopted that has the effect of restoring or granting the state, Missouri. So make it that so that the prosecutors has to prove beyond reasonable doubt that subsection 2 was violated. In which case I agree. This is also how some states, Florida, up until recently, had basically. God damn it. Florida had something like this for self-defense. It was an affirmative defense. Yeah, because it shouldn't be up to the defense to put up a good reason unless they're bringing the suit, in which case it would be a plaintiff. But the state can charge them, and they should have to deal with the burden. Florida had it for a time. It was the affirmative defense thing was a part of the reason why we had the Curtis Reeves trial. Ohio does, and if I remember right, Florida had it for a while until a certain time. I remember it's what Curtis Reeves had to deal with because he had to put up an affirmative defense. And the burden was on him in that trial. Or in a pretrial hearing. That was a burden at the SYG hearing, not trial. Yeah, stand your ground hearing? Yeah. I said either at trial or maybe at the hearing, so yeah. Abortion is banned in Missouri with limited exceptions, such as to save the mother's life. State law requires a counseling and 72-hour waiting period. In Kansas, abortion is generally banned at or after 22 weeks of pregnancy, with a 24-hour waiting period and counseling considered or required. Passed in 1986, the EMTALA requires that hospitals provide stabilizing treatment to patients who have emergency medical conditions or transfer them to facilities where such care will be provided, regardless of any conflicting state law or mandates. Changes to state law in the wake of the Supreme Court decision that overturned the right to an abortion have left many hospitals and providers uncertain or confused about the steps they can legally take in such cases, which is a total fucking lie. I have every faith that they are just basically making problems so that a court can come in and look at it and go, you know what, this is unacceptable. Hospitals found to be in violation with EMTALA could lose their Medicare and Medicaid provider agreements and could face civil penalties. An individual physician could also face civil penalties if they are found to be in violation. HHS may impose a $119,994 $119,942,000 fine per violation, or 942. $119,942 fine per violation for hospitals with more than 100 beds, and $59,973 fine for hospitals with fewer than 100 beds. Physicians could face a $120,000 fine. I'm going to call it that. Round up. Fine per violation. The National Women's Law Center says the new actions are the first time since Roe v. Wade was overturned that EMTALA has been enforced against the hospital that denied emergency abortion care. The care provided to the patient was reviewed by the hospital and found to be in accordance with hospital policy. The University of Kansas Health System said in statement to CNN it met the standard of care based upon the facts known at the time and compiled with all the applicable law. There is a process with CMS for this complaint, and we respect that process. The University of Kansas Health System follows federal and Kansas law in providing appropriate, stabilizing, quality care to all of its patients, including obstetric patients. Brigham Hospital did not immediately respond to CNN for a request for comment. An HHS spokesperson told CNN both hospitals were working towards coming into compliance with the law. In the Law Center statement, Farmer said she was pleased with the investigation, but pregnant people across the country continue to be denied care and face increased risk of complications or death, and it must be stopped. I was already dealing with unimaginable loss, and the hospitals made things so much harder. I'm still struggling emotionally with what happened to me, but I'm determined to keep fighting because no one should have to go through this. Just a moment. I was fucking thirsty, man. Holy shit. San Francisco DA says Walgreens security guard won't be charged in Banco Brown slang. Well, interesting. Let's see what happened. Oh, that is ass. That is absolute ass. Oh, fuck. My dark page forcing is not working here. Oh well, I'll power through it. Hopefully it's a short topic. Ah, fuck. Damn it. My shit crashed. I'm still streaming. I can't see shit though. That's not what I wanted to open up. Alright, we're back, I believe. What did I miss? You missed nothing. Oh no, my extension. There it is. There you are. You only missed my whole fucking stream crashing, apparently. Or at least all the browsers did. San Francisco attorney Brooks Jenkins on Monday evening confirmed that a security guard who was arrested after allegedly shooting a young person at downtown Walgreens last week has been released and will not face any charges. Police arrested the guard, 33-year-old Michael Earl Wayne Anthony, following the shooting reported at 6:33 p.m. last Thursday evening in the area of Market and 4th Street. Police said preliminary investigations determined that the theft allegedly occurred during the incident and that Anthony was working as a private security guard at the time. The victim was identified by medical examiner's office as 24-year-old San Francisco resident China Brown. China. But activists with the Young Women's Freedom Center referred to him as Bonko Brown. Him? Huh. So China Brown, Young Women's Freedom Center referred to him as Banco Brown. In an exclusive interview with KPIX reporter Betty Yu, hold on, I gotta fix something real quick. I'm in a bad spot right now. Oh, fuck. Ow. Ow, fuck, that hurt. You missed pain, evidently. Oh. Also, shit, fuck. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, here. I left the mic on, it wasn't hot. I was talking to you. What did I miss? You missed something. You missed my pain, apparently. I just didn't want to get angled. Police said preliminary investigation determined that the theft, yeah. My shit was hurting. That's why I seemed flustered. Also, the screen wasn't displaying this article, so I needed to fix that. Betty Yu, San Francisco District Attorney Jenkins, said that her office would not be charging Anthony for the deadly shooting. As a prosecutor, there is no tougher job than to have to review these types of cases and really make a determination that we know is going to disappoint a community and the family. Jenkins said, in this particular instance, this was a shoplifting that really, based on the fact, escalated into a robbery. Jenkins said that Jenkins ended up using oh my god, they need to update this. Jenkins did it. The district attorney killed Brown. Jenkins said that Anthony ended up using lethal force, firing a single shot from his firearm that ultimately killed Bunko Brown. We had to evaluate the video, the statement and the security guard and multiple witnesses' statement to figure out whether or not there was a credible claim of self-defense, and we ultimately did not believe that we could prove beyond a reasonable doubt here that the security guard had committed a murder or any other crime, Jenkins explained. She noted that in the surveillance video of the encounter, it was apparent that physical force, violence, and threats of violence were used by Brown as if to try to exit the store to take the items in question. However, Jenkins noted that the only weapon found in the incident was the gun used by Anthony. She also offered her condolences to Brown's family and the community surrounding him in the wake of this tragic death. The district attorney's office released a separate statement that read in part, "The evidence clearly shows that the suspect believed he was in mortal danger and acted in self-defense. We cannot bring forward charges when there is credible evidence of reasonable self-defense. Doing so would be unethical and create a false hope for successful prosecution. No matter the case, however, we must follow the law and evidence and where it leads. We never make decisions based on emotions or may be politically expedient." Earlier Monday, a group of community activists gathered outside the Market Street Walgreens in downtown San Francisco, where the deadly encounter took place, for a vigil to honor Brown's memory and to demand justice. "We need the city to do better. San Francisco has not been safe for young black people and trans youth who are experiencing poverty." Young Women's Freedom Center. Yeah. Young Women's Freedom Center co-executive director Julia Aproyo said in a news release Monday. According to the release, Brown had been struggling with housing instability for over a decade while working for the organization as a community organizer, tirelessly making consistent calls for shelter and other basic needs. "We are beyond devastated by Bunko's passing. He was smart and a funny young man who, though shy, made friends easily. He was resilient, tenacious, and loved by our community." Arroyo said, "We need immediate funding for community-based housing that responds to what young people want for themselves, instead of terrorizing and killing youth. We need real investment into their safety." Well, if Bunko wanted safety, he probably shouldn't have tried hurting someone just to get something. That's the problem. Friends remember Bunko as an advocate who helped young people and trans people dealing with poverty. Alright, hold on. YWFC and other community activists gathered outside the Walgreens at 825 Market Street at 3 p.m. to demand justice for Brown. Why at the place it happened? Why not at the courthouse? Where, I don't know, actual protesting could make some mild effect? Some friends remember Bonko as an advocate who helped young people and trans people dealing with poverty. His mentor, Javier Davenport, worked with him through the Young Women's Freedom Center. He described Brown as a community organizer. Bonko is a quiet boy, but very loving and very helpful. Loved children, loved to be able to give back to the people who were kind to him, said Davenport. He said Brown spent years couch surfing in the Tenderloin. The group demanded city officials include Mayor Landon Breed and organizations to do more to invest in housing young people, specifically black trans youth. This Walgreens has been more harmful to the black community more than anything. A bunch of people steal from this Walgreens every single day. I know because I used to be a loss prevention manager for Old Navy for years, for almost more than a decade. He said, why this black young boy had to be taken away from so senseless from something that everyone in the community and everyone around San Francisco does. Is that excusing the act? Davenport said he last spoke to him a month ago when Bonko shared that he was experiencing hardship. He wanted to actually be a fashion designer and design clothes, so he had a future, he said. Davenport said he was never able to secure permanent housing. Sakura Corey Moreland, founder of Brotherhood 510, is a black trans man who spoke at the vigil. I'll get to that in just a moment. We're erased or we're neglected, right? We're here and we're making noise. We've been making noise for years, but the situation at hand is really screwed up at the fact that we're here. That it's really just screwed up that the fact that we're here, and it's because one of our own were killed because they didn't have access to resources, he said. I'm hoping for this Walgreens to be shut down. The next thing I'm hoping for is that these organizations, there's more integrity in these organizations and how they're actually running, who gets bed and who gets housing, said Davenport. You're right, she said. My bad. I completely forgot. So let's look at the incident. Ah, fuck. I need to also make it so you guys can hear it. So here is ABC7.
We're learning more about the person shot at a Walgreens in San Francisco. Good evening, I'm Ama Dates.
And I'm Dan Ashley. Thank you for joining us. A vigil took place.
Actually, I'm just gonna go see if they have footage.
Calls for justice today in San Francisco after a private security guard shot and killed.
All right, so basically the story goes, Bonko Brown was trying to steal from a store, or specifically this Walgreens. Or at least he was trying to leave without paying for whatever he got. The security guard at the store stopped him from leaving, and his statements and witness testimony say that when the security guard prevented him from leaving, he got violent and threatened violence against the security guard. So the security guard basically shot him while having violence committed against him. And San Francisco deemed it justified use of force for self-defense in this case. This is the lady that deemed it not proper. I want to see this Walgreens shut down, they said. Davenport said. Who the fuck is Javier Davenport? We'll just wait, and then they'll bitch about white flight. You know, I've actually only recently started hearing about that term. I don't know why it's not been so prominent for me. Before we get into this, though, one more time. Dragon's Treasure, a haven for anime and tea lovers. Use code Layman at checkout for 10% off. Go buy my shit. Go buy shit with my name. It'll help. It's great. Just buy the tea. Buy the stuff. Do you go to university? No, I do not. I do not go to university. I work a street sweeping job just to kind of sustain myself. I don't know what I want to do with a university, and at this point I kind of just don't trust them. I'd only really go for like language classes. How about you do, Mr. Poopy Butthole? Buy the tea. Do it. Use code Layman. You'll enjoy it. I promise. Buy the tea, buy the tea, buy the tea, buy the tea. Ooga chugga, ooga chugga, ooga chugga. Chugga, ooga, chugga, ooga. People work through college all the time. I dropped out in 2014. I didn't drop out per se. I just stopped going. Like, I didn't renew. I didn't go next year. I like Bigelow Earl Grey. Well, I guess I didn't flunk out, so that's probably apt. So yeah, I didn't flunk out, but I did drop out. Yeah, code layman at Dragon's Treasure for 10% off. Enjoy the tea. Get a kettle and a strainer. It'll be great for your tea experience. We'll get the coffee later. So now that that's out of the way. Abbott retracts claims that Texas shooting victims were all illegal immigrants. I don't know why he said this, and I don't know why it even matters. Even if it were true, what does it care? What does it matter? I mean, I get that we want to have legal immigrants moving in, but like, their immigration status does not matter to the whole fact that they got shot to death by someone who is unhinged. Abbott's office issued a statement retracting his previous statement that claimed that the 5 victims of Cleveland, Texas mass shootings were illegal immigrants. Spokesperson Renee Ease said in a statement that the Hill that the federal officials told the governor's office that the suspects and the 5 victims killed in the shooting were near Cleveland were in the country illegally. She said the office regrets if the information provided earlier was inaccurate and noted at least one of the victims may have been in the U.S. legally. Regret if the information was inaccurate and detracted from the important goal of finding and arresting the criminal, as they said in the statement. The true focus remains on catching this heinous criminal who killed 5 innocent people and bringing up the full weight of Texas law against him. Local and state authorities announced Sunday that federal and local state authorities will offer a combined reward of $80,000 for the arrest of Francisco Oropeza, who was suspected of killing 5 people, including an 8-year-old, after shooting into his neighbor's home last week. The FBI said on Sunday it had 0 leads in the hunt for Oropeza, urging Texas residents to report any information that they may know about the suspect. Look, I kind of get why some people would care, but it doesn't matter. 5 people died. Like that's fuck. This isn't a call to take away gun rights. Never. I would never do that. But God's sake, man. What did it matter? I mean, the only one it mattered for was that Oropesa would be legal or illegal. God damn it. Why are you like this, man? God damn it, dude. Okay, stream's all working. Great. Let's see what this is about. Ah, it's lengthy. Alright, I want to get to this before anything else. Because it's fun. You're very right. It is fun. It is also funny. A judge in Minneapolis ruled that the former officer Total, was guilty of aiding and abetting manslaughter in the killing of Mr. Floyd in 2020. A judge ruled? What about the trial? What about a jury? A former Minneapolis police officer who held back bystanders as other officers restrained George Floyd was found guilty on Monday of aiding and abetting. Just like, fuck off. Just like you like it, was found guilty on Monday of aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter in Mr. Floyd's killing. Hennepin County Judge Peter Cahill said in the verdict that the former officer Total, however, who had waived his right to trial by jury, actively encouraged his three colleagues' dangerous prone restraint of Floyd. Mr. Tao, 37, was the last of the four officers with unresolved criminal charges in the killing of Mr. Floyd. Alright, he died more than Derek Chauvin. Yep. It was Mr. Chauvin's partner kept away bystanders who were saying that the Floyd was struggling to breathe and needed help. The killing of Floyd was captured in a video recording, setting off protests that evolved into a global movement for racial justice. Mr. Tao is currently serving 3.5-year federal sentence for failing to provide medical help. Mr. Floyd, and for failing to stop Chauvin. His sentence hearing is scheduled to August 7th. Even if you helped defend or helped try to resuscitate Floyd, it was argued that failing to do so was a failure of his civil rights. Someone helped render medical aid when possible to George Floyd, and he was still given a conviction on not doing the right thing, basically. Also, Graham, I did read that it was a bench trial. He opted out of a jury trial. I saw that, yeah. While we have now ended reached the end of prosecution of Floyd's murder, it is not behind us. The Minnesota Attorney General said in a statement, "There is much more that prosecutors, law enforcement leaders, rank-and-file officers, elected officials, and community can do to bring about true justice in law enforcement and true justice and safety in all communities." The legal team for Floyd's family include the lawyer Ben Crump, said in a statement Tuesday that the family was grateful for another measure of accountability for his death. Nearly 3 years after George Floyd was killed, the statement said the family and Minneapolis community continue to heal as the criminal justice system prevails. Mr. Tao was set to face jury trial and state charges, but instead asked Judge Cahill to determine his guilt or innocence, an unusual process in which defense and the prosecution jointly present an agreed to set of facts. As part of this process, Mr. Tao waived the right to testify to question witnesses. Like the bystander, Tao could see Floyd's life slowly ebbing away as the restraint continued. Judge Cahill wrote in the verdict. Yet Tao made a conscious decision to actively participate in the Floyd's death. He held back concerned bystanders and even prevented an off-duty Minneapolis firefighter from rendering the medical aid Floyd so desperately needed. Prosecutors said that Tao was an officer for nearly 9 years, violated Minneapolis Police Department's motto, which urges officers to serve with courage and compassion. On the day Floyd died and was killed, that he ignored police training and acted without courage and displayed no compassion. Mr. Tao's lawyer, Robert Paul, argued in the defense's written closing argument that Mr. Tao believes Mr. Floyd was experiencing excited delirium, a vague and poorly understood diagnosis that is often cited in cases when people die in police custody. Whether or not this medical phenomenon is real, Tao was taught that people in these highly agitated states are extremely dangerous to themselves and others, and unless they are restrained until they are sedated. Mr. Powell said in the closing argument that every one of Mr. Tao's action that day was based on his training he received from the Minneapolis Police Department. The 3 other officers who were on scene when Floyd was murdered or killed or died have been convicted on state and federal charges. I'm done with this. Oh, of course. So annoying. I hate this because of stuff that happened to Aaron Dean. Kim Potter also. In other news, good news, New Mexico mother, 19, sentenced to prison for tossing her newborn baby in trash dumpster. $16 years? Only 16? A New Mexico teenage mother was sentenced Monday to a mandatory 18-year prison for tossing her newborn son into a trash dumpster behind a shopping center, but state district judge cited mental health concerns and the defendant's age and suspects and suspending 2 years of the punishment. Of fucking course. Hey, Judge, it's a mandatory 18 years. Mandatory. Jurors convicted Alexis Avila, 19, of child abuse involving great bodily harm following a days-long trial. last month, in which her public defender argued her actions were not premeditated and that a previously undiagnosed mental health disorder played a role. Judge William Schuberg this man. Told Avila that had it not been for luck and the grace of God, he would have been deliberating a sentence in a murder case, as there was a high probability the child could have died had it not been found in that winter day in Hobbs near the Texas border. Avila told the judge she wants to learn how to deal with stress and anxiety, and she said she regrets missing out on her son's first milestones. I regret his first hours of life were traumatic. I regret that he will always have this in the back of his head. I will think I did not love him because that's what he'll read and hear. She said, but that's not true at all. I do love him, I truly do. Police said a group of people were looking through the trash bin when they found the baby and had tried to keep the boy warm until police and paramedics arrived. Investigators used surveillance video to identify a car suspected of being involved, which led them to Avila. Public defender Ibukun Adepoju disputed that Avila made a premeditated attempt to kill her baby. Public defender said while Avila's actions were wrong, they were a result of her bipolar disorder, and that she was disassociated and detached from her feelings. Now, Alexis will be about 34 years old when she gets out of prison, she said in a statement. After sentencing, we're trying to work with the prison to make sure she has access to therapy and education while incarcerated so that when she gets out, she can have a meaningful life. KBS affiliated KRQE reported that Jack Hancock, a licensed clinical social worker who has worked with Avila, vouched for her persistent mental health issues during the trial. They also called Avila's mother to the stand, who said this is not an action she would have taken if she had been in her right mind. The station reported. Avila case spurred new conversations in the New Mexico community among legislators about the state's safe haven law, which allows parents to leave baby younger than 90 days at a safe location without criminal consequences. Such laws first began to pass in state legislature in early 2000 in response to reports of baby killings and abandonment. New Mexico lawmakers in 2020 approved the bill to expand safe haven programs and provide funds to build one baby box for every community where an infant can be left. Boxes have been installed in several locations. Florida is the latest to consider legislation that would allow for the boxes. Avila's sentence comes just days after a Minnesota woman who admitted to leaving her newborn son to die near the Mississippi River two decades ago was sentenced to 27 years in prison. Jennifer Matters was sentenced Friday for second-degree murder. How is that second-degree murder? Leaving her newborn son to die. That is first degree. Our justice system waffles too much between compromise justice and overdoing it with justice. The Boondock Saints had the right approach. A village should still have 18 years. 2 of those years could be in a mental institution. But 18 years total out away from society, if that is supposed to be the mandatory. Alright, I think that's it for the show. I'll do that weed thing later. I have to say, I'm still not entirely sure about the death sentence requirements being lowered. But I'm for putting pedophiles to death. Sasha Desade, fucking hell. You motherfucker! Alright, hold up. Just gonna pull this out. I nearly what the fuck? What did you make me look at? What the fuck was that, Mr. Poopy Butthole? You rat bastard. Oh, you nearly. You little bitch. I'm so glad. Fuck. I almost got completely destroyed there. I learned my lesson. Don't trust chat. Especially you, degenerate. I saw that. Very unfortunate. Oh. But yeah, I'll leave off with the Dragon's Treasure. Once again, use code Layman at the Dragon's Treasure. Good tea, good products. If you don't have something that can prepare your tea, they'll provide something that can prepare your tea. Trust me, it's very good. Was I supposed to look further into it? I just figured out he was a philosopher who is accused of sex crimes. He's also French. Who cares? If you're leaving, take care, man. Peace out, brother. But yeah, use the code Layman at Dragon's Treasure. You can find the link in the description for 10% off of all tea purchases. It's very good tea and stuff that you can use to make the tea. Promise you, it's very much worth it. And with that, I think I am done, and we'll start wrapping up the show. Ugh. Fucking hell. I'm almost done. I'm wrapping up. I'm taking a moment to gather myself. Okay, so anyway, thank you for everybody who came. Thank you for everybody who watched. Even you, Mr. Poopy Butthole, thank you for jumping in and making me almost look up degenerate shit on the stream. That was great. Very lovely. I'll be streaming tomorrow, and the day after I'll probably do a recording. Yes, thank you. I'm probably going to record this little thing, this little project I've got right here. And I'll try and put the camera up a little further so that way I can do the recording. And hopefully that'll work out. Because I want to be standing while I read this. So watch out for future projects that are not streamed, but I'll do video projects. Thank you for everybody who came to watch. Thank you for everybody who's going to watch later. Pleasure to see you. Remember to like the video on either Rumble or YouTube. Go follow the Rumble or YouTube side if you're not following those. Follow me on Locals, which is legallayman.locals.com. Follow my Twitter, where I post live updates about when I go live. And I probably should implement that Venmo thing that Joe mentioned last night on next stream. Yeah, either or. Both, either, both, or. Yeah, works for me. But yeah, all the necessary links are in the description. You can follow me wherever you like. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully with some funny topics and not as depressing. And hopefully I didn't burn through all of them. I'll probably go through that Iowa child labor law in full and talk about what I've learned through. And I'll probably end up talking about what I learned through the Federalist Papers and the understanding of the civil rights instilled in them, or in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. With that said, thank you for everybody who came. Thank you for watching, and hang loose. Oh, wait, fuck, hold on. Not yet. Not hang loose. I forgot to hang loose. There we go.